Classifying chemical reactions with Archie Comics. Here, we have Archie. Archie meets Veronica, and together they decide to go to the school dance. In chemical reactions, the process of two things joining together to become one is called synthesis, or to combine, or to put together.
Let's take a closer look at synthesis. Element A plus element B yields compound AB. So I want you to write that down in your notes. A plus B yields AB. Our example would be iron reacts with sulfur to create iron 2 sulfide. Sometimes an element and a compound, or even two compounds, can be the reactants in a synthesis reaction. But the key here, y'all, is that there are always multiple reactants and only one product. You can see that in the picture. There are two small things, y'all, merging together to create one big thing.
About a week before the school dance, we have Archie and Veronica. They got into a heated argument, and during that heated argument, they decide to break up. And Archie goes on his own, while Veronica goes on her own. This is known as decomposition, to break down or to take apart.
Decomposition. Compound AB yields element A and element B. I want you to write that down. AB yields A plus B. Our example of decomposition is water breaking down to yield hydrogen and oxygen. Always be sure to balance your chemical equation, so write those coefficients down, y'all. Sometimes a compound can decompose into a smaller compound and an element, or even two smaller compounds. But there are always one reactant and multiple products. So decomposition, y'all, breaking down into two or more pieces.
On the day of the school dance, Archie and Veronica decided to go together again, and there they meet up with Betty. And during the interactions at the dance, Archie ends up with Betty while Veronica ends up on her own. This is known as single replacement. You are replacing one substance with another.
Single replacement. Compound AB reacts with element C, yields compound CB and element A. So please write that down. AB plus C yields CB plus A. Our example is sodium chloride reacts with potassium to yield potassium chloride and sodium. Notice, y'all, that the metal in the compound is switched. You can always identify which one is switched by identifying what element C is classified as, either a metal or a non-metal. If element C was a non-metal, y'all, we would have switched B and C. So to summarize, we only switch the elements of the same type. Metal with metal, non-metal with non-metal. Single replacement, replacing one substance with another.
If Archie and Veronica go to the dance, and there they meet up with Jughead and Betty, and during the interactions at the dance, Archie somehow ends up with Betty, while Jughead ends up with Veronica. We are replacing two things in this process, so it is called a double replacement.
Double replacement. Compound AB reacts with compound CD to yield compound CB and compound AD. So write the generic equation down. AB plus CD yields CB plus AD. Our example is sodium hydroxide reacts with magnesium chloride to yield magnesium hydroxide and sodium chloride. Don't forget our chemical equation must be balanced. So in this double replacement, the metals switched places, but we could have simply kept the metals in place and switched the non-metals. Either or will work. It doesn't really matter which order you use as long as you switch the metal with the metal or the non-metal with the non-metal. double replacement, y'all, simply switching the metals or switching the nonmetals between two compounds. Combustion reactions always include hydrocarbons, a group of compounds that all contain primarily hydrogen and carbon atoms in different amounts and arrangement, like C2H4 or CH2, to name a couple. The number of carbons and hydrogens in the hydrocarbon can change, but the rest of the reaction is always the same. These types of reactions are responsible when things burn. Fire! So the reaction is the hydrocarbon reacts with oxygen gas to yield carbon dioxide and water vapor. Our example would be methane reacts with oxygen to yield carbon dioxide and water. Be sure to write down the coefficient because we need our chemical equations to be balanced. Combustion reactions can involve hydrocarbon other than CH4, but O2, CO2, and H2O molecules would always be present even if their coefficients differ in the balanced equation. Okay, y'all, that's it for today. Have a good one.